up? It's Wee Natter. I'm Mark Steele, and across the table from me is...
Jenny Steele.
And we are joining you on the week that I sold my services on a street corner. Yeah, I was out with a pasting table and everything, just outside the co-op.
Ah, yes.
Yes. Nobody was buying. That's when you know you're really in trouble. You're out there selling your services and nobody's interested.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes.
Why was nobody interested?
Well, because it was me.
Oh.
They looked at what was on the table and they saw the emptiness. And then they looked at me and went, oh no, I can't put up with that. I moved on. I imagine that's what happened. But in more positive news, the postbag has arrived and we're going to go not one, but 2 episodes back.
Yes.
Because we got delayed postage.
Yes.
Yes. And we asked the question, what have you lost interest in that you used to love? Slap Ups has been in touch, saying politics for me. I used to follow it like sport and delve deep into the history of knew all the ministers, but now it's just the same with the news as well, I feel. Yeah,
I agree.
You agree? Yeah. Well, to me, politics types, see, people that are really into politics, I kind of like people that are really into sports. They get properly nerdy about it, and they all think they're better managers as well. they all think they could do a better job than whoever's running the football team or whoever's running the politics team. So I'm wondering, do we need like a football manager or like a FIFA 2023 for politics?
Yeah.
And you could build your fantasy team as well. You know, you could have like Thatcher and Blair on the same team.
Oh, God.
It'd be interesting to see how it played out. I don't think it'd be well, but interesting to see how it played out. But going to go forward in time now, dear listeners. So we went 2 episodes back there. We're now going to go forward to 1 episode back where we asked the question, what do you not want to see disappear? Not what do you want rid of yesterday. What do you not want to see disappear from whether it's British life or your life in general? Matthew Summers being in touch saying taking heavy books on holiday instead of replacing them all with a Kindle. Books take up too much valuable space and weight in my luggage, in my opinion, he said, but they're so much better than an electronic device. And I agree until you do what I do, which is forget the charger.
Yeah.
And at that point, no amount of electronic device is going to help you. You've got nothing to read on your holidays at that point. Age is also being in touch saying the house I grew up in. My dad's still there, but I fear the next year or 2 it'll have to be sold to fund retirement home. Then if it's on par with the street, it'll be knocked down and rebuilt as 3 townhouses.
Oh.
Well, if you're worried about that, don't invite me, he said. 3 out of the 15... I had a look at my CV, right? Yeah. 3 out of the 15 places I've worked at, I've closed down or shrunk considerably. Oh, yeah. And here's one that you don't think about. If somewhere closes down, so you get the announcement that blah-de-blah, whether it's a shop or an office or whatever it is, says it's closing down. The staff will stop working, and you go in the next day, and it's as if there's a holiday or something, because there'll still be everything there.
Yeah.
You might even leave jackets and things like that. It's sort of weirdly abandoned. I've had to go in to do that a couple of times. One of them was for Leicester Sound, and the other one was De Montfort Uni in Leicester, funnily enough, where the building had been closed down and the business had been moved out, but we still had to take all the electrical and all the IT equipment out. And it's proper weird and spooky being in there like that. Yeah. If you've not done it before, I can recommend a website. I probably shouldn't, but 28 Days Later.
Yeah, that's good.
Make sure you search for the urban exploration one?
Yeah.
The one where they break onto places that you're not supposed to go. And it's got wonderful pictures, including a complete set of pictures of the coal mine that we live on top of before they flattened all the buildings.
Yeah,
so
interesting.
I spent hours looking at that stuff. And I'm looking at these photos where it's all abandoned on these websites. And it's exactly the same eerie feeling. Like, it's just like everyone's disappeared.
Yeah.
It's spooky. It's weird. Slap Ups is also being in touch saying, any more trees or green spaces, too many are destroyed nowadays. The reason that more buildings are needed. We need to promote the importance of nature for our species' future. That's a very ecological message there, which I must admit I do get on board with, and I must give a disclaimer. We do live in a fairly new property, but it is on a brownfield site. Yeah. If they hadn't built houses on it, which because there is a need for houses. Let's be honest. We do need houses. If they hadn't built houses on it, it would have been left as a bit of an industrial wasteland. And they're turning a good part of it into sort of semi-maintained heathland as well. That will be, and I've been looking at the ecological report, because when you buy a house, it turns out you need to know every single little detail about all the deals that have gone beforehand and whatnot. And I've seen the complete ecological plan for the site. It goes on and on. All sorts of things you wouldn't think of.
Wow.
Everything from, the obvious stuff like swift and bat boxes to, I don't know, species of newts and all sorts of little creatures that you probably never heard of before you saw them written in the paperwork.
Yeah.
But they need a house as well. So they've got all these cunning plans for houses. But I know what you're saying there, Slap-Ups. How we don't need properties everywhere. We need them in the right places. And we probably ought to fill the gaps in brownfield and all that first. That's got to be your driver. But yeah, we do need to think more about the ecological impact of what we do in the world.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is why I got rid of one of our cars. It'd be nice to get rid of the second one, but the joys of British life. Yeah, the joys of British life. The bus just doesn't turn up. But yeah, there you go. Although if we're talking about nature, one that just popped to mind, and I don't know if you've been to Nottingham before, dear listener. I was about to say I can't recommend it, but I'll get slapped across the head for that one because I've got a native next to me. But Nottingham City Centre, there is an old, would you say 60s or 70s shopping centre called Broadmarsh?
70s it was.
It was the home of the only Wimpy I've ever been to.
Yeah.
Until only a couple of years ago, they basically half flattened it, ran out of money, and the whole thing came to a grinding halt. So political to that. Well, ignore the political disaster, but the important bit is they're talking about turning it into a great big green space.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Yeah, in the middle of urban space, in front of a car park, a bus station, and what used to be Index. You're now going to have a nice, lovely green space in the middle of the city. So I'm on board with that sort of stuff. I am on board with that. But I must say, I have noticed I'm getting more angry with the world. when I talk about these things. You hear it, dear listener. I hear it, dear listener. I know something's just snapped. I have no idea what it was. Just someone just snapped one day and I went, hang on a minute. Why am I putting up with this nonsense? Yeah. I wonder if has that happened to you?
Yeah, I'm putting up with nonsense on my garden. Nonsense it is.
Nonsense.
I need turf, not grassy, turf.
Oh, you're in that argument, are you? Well, if you're talking about ecological, grass isn't the best option.
I'm having grass.
But the downside is getting all angry. Is apparently got high blood pressure. When I went to the GP, they told me I've not enough vitamin D, so I need to actually go out and touch some grass. Apparently, that's the advice they give you nowadays.
Touch some grass.
Go out and touch some grass. Yeah, it means go outside and stop getting angry with the world. So we're going to calm down and have a wee natter. So while I was out selling my services on a street corner at the weekend, which is quite a way to start a conversation, isn't it? There was this noisy car that came down the road, dear listener. And why is it always, when you get a noisy car that comes down the road, it's a 1 litre special with a big bean can on the back?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
There is a distinct difference between the fancy supercar, which is what people have up on their bedroom wall and the posters and things like that, and what you can actually afford when you turn 17, 18, whatever it is, when you first pass your 70 maybe, when you first pass your test. It's very different, but I've never got the whole thing of then trying to recreate it with your 1 litre special. It's like, well, I know I can't have that, so I'll sort of badger and bodge my way towards it, and it'll maybe be a little bit cooler. But it did got me wondering when I saw that going past, what is the most uncool car you've ever owned?
I don't think I've ever owned an uncool car. I've had a MG Metro.
Well, you
Fiestas.
see, MG Metros and Fiestas. So Fiesta's just sort of middle of the road.
Yeah.
It's in Mondeo Man territory in my mind. That's where it sits.
Ford Escort. I can't remember what mark it was. It wasn't one of the really old ones. And I think that's about it, really, isn't it? Apart from this Captur that I've got now. So I wouldn't say I've ever owned an uncool car.
I have owned many uncool cars.
I've been in uncool cars, but I've never owned one.
Well, I've owned many uncool cars over the years, because certainly when I wasn't in the place in my career I am now, I was buying at the bottom end of the market, the couple £100 special that'll maybe reach the next MOT, we'll see what happens. That's the sort of stuff I was buying. I was usually the last owner before it went into the scrapyard.
That's your dad now, though, isn't it?
He's still into that. I don't get it, because I'm not making this bit up, dear listener. So he buys a second-hand car for a couple hundred. It's a hobby to him, basically. He buys it. He's not into fixing the cars or anything like that. He just wants a different car to drive with some regularity. And getting at the end of the market means they're cheap, and also, they'll go to scrap and somebody's getting a bit more life of it. So that's the mindset he's got when he's buying them. And the garage he takes them to get serviced, because he buys them, gets them serviced and drives them for a bit. Garage he takes them to is going, well, the money he spends with us, he could buy a top-end car, no problem. And never come to see us. But we're not going to complain. That was their view on it. But no, I've had a few uncool cars over the years. My first car was a Nissan Micra. Yeah, I was that for cool. And the best bit, 2 crashes and 2 nights on the trot.
Oh, wow.
None of them my fault. Genuinely, somebody came into the back of me one night, and the next night somebody clipped me going the other direction. And because they hit the back of the car, and it's a hatchback, apparently that counts as a door. I've never seen anyone get in or out of a hatchback, but according to the MOT, that is a door. So it failed.
Oh.
So I had to scrap that one. But it's not the least cool car I've ever owned. That award goes to, we almost need a drum roll for this. That is your low budget drum roll. The Suzuki Wagon-R Plus.
Oh yeah, they're gross.
Which is I hate to call it a granny car. But I owned it as a student.
A nan car.
It was literally scrapped cobbled together money as a student because I needed a car for my job. Because, funnily enough, when you're at university, you don't have enough money to actually pay the bills. You have to go out and get a job as well. That's what it was like for me when I was studying. So I had this Suzuki Wagon-R Plus. It lasted a grand total of
2 weeks.
That would be generous. 48 hours.
Oh, God.
Before I was halfway round a roundabout and the gearbox exploded and it stopped moving. I think it was trying to send me a message at that point. So I'm going to open this Beyond Cars, dear listener. Have you ever owned anything you'd call uncool? How about you, Jenny?
No, I can't think of anything uncool.
Nothing you look back on now and go, oh my God, I owned one of them.
No. I've got an eye for fashion and, things that look quite nice around, and I'm good at looking at aesthetics and stuff. Not anesthetics, aesthetics.
Well, it's going looking for anesthetics on a Saturday night is a very different lifestyle, so I wasn't able to assume it.
I suppose some of the clothes you used to wear, maybe you look back and you think, oh, why did I buy that?
Anything in particular?
Maybe rah-rah skirts at the time.
Rah-rah skirts? I'd have to Google that, or you'd have to explain them to me.
Hairstyles, I guess. When you used to have the perm, when the perms was in, everybody wanted a perm, but you wanted like a shaggy perm, but it used to come out really tight.
Aren't a lot of blokes getting perms?
Yeah, I've noticed that. Short right back and sides, and then curly hair on the top.
Ah, that's what they call. Apparently, the term for that is the broccoli haircut.
Oh, right.
Because you look like broccoli because you got the curly bit on the top and it's all straight down the sides, isn't it? That's how they came up with that one. And I have seen somebody genuinely, what was it? They running around with a mullet recently.
Oh.
You're in the 2020s and you've got a mullet. You've made some interesting decisions in your life if that's where you've gone. But so I'm going to open this up to you, dear listener. What have you ever owned that you look back on now and go, yeah, that wasn't cool, was it? The way to get in touch, if you're listening on Spotify, at the top of the episode, you can bash the question and stick your answer in there. Magic occurs. Your other option on the socials, at Solid Radio UK or at Solid Sooty. And tell us about the things that you cringe about nowadays.
How many people's going to say garden gnome?
I don't know if they're cool or uncool. We'll leave that to you, dear listener. So it turns out, in case you've not noticed, dear listener, that the Scots are already on their summer jollies.
Yeah.
The back to school aisles are already open in the supermarkets.
Yeah.
Jenny's sitting down and going, come on, get back to school, you wee bandits.
I am. Ugh, hate it.
Well, there is one upside that you get with the summer holidays. Yes, you get all the kids and families turning up everywhere because everyone has to take holiday at the same time. But one of the positives is you have to work. Traffic's amazing.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. Do all the kids drive to school in the mornings or what's going on? But yes, and the important bit is the English kids are getting unleashed soon, and some of the better off ones will be bailing out the country.
Yeah.
Heading straight for foreign lands. I get it. if you've seen Weather last week, dear listener,
Yeah.
totally understand. Although I must say, myself and Jenny as well, don't leave the country too often, do we?
No.
Not very often. You went on your first foreign jolly earlier this year.
We did, yeah.
First time you've been to a proper foreign land.
Proper foreign land.
Proper foreign land. Not my first time, though. I must say, no. I went when I was a kid. So young I couldn't remember, and it was mainly because family were out in Cyprus and things like that. But I do remember a trip to the US when I was a teenager, which is a strange place to go as a teenager, but it was one of those exchange trip things. It had been organised between Air Cadets and the Civil Air Patrol. Yeah. So it got off to a cracking start. We're on the minibus, we turn up at Glasgow Airport, and Iceland Air turn around and go, plane's broken.
Oh.
It's going to be a while before we get spare parts, get it up and running again, rah, rah, rah. Upshot of that, 8 hours in Glasgow Airport. There's only so many times you can go round duty free.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it does wear thin after a little while. Then we finally get on a flight and get to Reykjavik. We were supposed to spend 8 hours in Iceland. That didn't happen because we spent 8 hours in Glasgow Airport. So instead, we spent 15 minutes legging it from gate to gate so we'd catch our connection. So for legging it between the gates, you got to imagine it didn't all go to plan, did it? We think it's going to plan at this point. But we get on the plane, go to our next stop, arrive in Boston. Not the one in Lincolnshire. The one in Yankistan, over in the east coast of the United States. Get off the plane and you're like, okay, you get through passport control, which with the Americans is always fun and games. They're very serious about it. Although the moment you mention you've got any connection to something vaguely military, they get very excited and just let you straight through.
Oh.
That is my pro tip for getting through US border security. Have some weird, even tenuous connection to military service, and they will get excited and just let you through. That's how I managed to get in, and it seemed to work all right on that. So get through the border. Now you get to the carousel. The bit where the luggage goes round and round and round. You're like, okay, it's going to take a little while. It's a big plane, a lot of people to offload. Totally understand it. It's just sitting there and you're watching the luggage going round and round. And the carousel's only so long, so you start to see the same bags over and over and over. And it gets to the point where there's no bags left. And I'm still sitting there standing going, where's my baggage gone? This isn't right. So I ended up having to go to the desk to say, well, you've not brought my luggage across. Where it's gone walkies on the trip between Glasgow and Boston. Something's gone awry here. Yeah. And when I'm waiting in the queue, and this was a trip with the air training course, we had some staff along with us, sort of chaperoning and whatnot, because we're still we weren't young, but still teenagers. So they wanted somebody there looking after us. And I don't know whether it was jet lag or whatever, but they blurted out when I was in the queue, "Oh, I'm glad it was you that lost your luggage."
Charming.
That's what I thought, charming. And then they realised what they said. Like, oh, no, I didn't mean it like that. It's because if it was anyone else, they would have had properly freaked out, and I know you can deal with it. Oh, brilliant, thanks for that. Okay, fine, whatever. So file our complaint, and we go, all right, yeah, we'll ship it on to you, but we've got a minibus to catch up to Maine, so we can't hang around too long. So they're going to ship it up when it eventually arrives in the country. But until then, I've only got an overnight bag because you put most of your clothes in your main luggage, don't you? Yeah. So it's like, all right, where am I going to get clothes from? And the thing that springs to mind is Walmart. It's the only shop you think about in the United States is 7-Eleven or Walmart. You ain't going to get clothes out of 7-Eleven, so it's going to be Walmart. So I get into Walmart, and my jet lag brain, or tired brain, or whatever it is at that point, properly messed up, is sitting there going, all right, it's all George Asda labelled stuff. Brilliant. Okay, it's the same stuff we get in the UK because the styles look the same and all that. So. And I thought, right, I need to get some underwear. So I thought, all right, there we go. There's some briefs. I'll grab those. And in the UK, I'm usually L or an XL. And so that is the logic I went into this with. Yeah. It's only when I got back to our accommodation, when I opened the packet, and it said George underwear on it, same that you'd get here in the United Kingdom. No difference on the packaging. All it said was XL. And I was like, okay, pull out. I could have used it as a parachute. It was that big. I could have had a teammate in with me in the pair of underwear. It was that big. So there's your other pro tip if you're travelling to the United States. The sizes don't match with you. Even when the brands match, the sizes don't necessarily match. I did eventually get my luggage back, and I had a bit of fun on the return trip, which I'll tell you about later. But there you go. All for a bit of underwear. And if you want to avoid that, my advice for you, dear listener, if you want to avoid that on your summer jollies, because you've got the kids, everyone's gone off on holiday at the same time, camping trip in the UK.
Yeah.
You can't lose your underwear there, can you?
I don't know.
Well, unless some sheep eat them, I don't know. Do you remember last week when I said I'm open to any requests for inventions? Somebody's been in touch, Samantha Palmer, saying I was listening to the latest episode of said podcast, this fine podcast, and Mark was talking about inventions when I was feeding my cat Misty. It's really hard to get the last of her wet food out of those pouches with a teaspoon. That's a very formal way of getting things out of her.
I just squeeze mine out. I never get it all out. She's right.
Samantha, here's a question. Are you the sort of person that eats pizza with a knife and fork?
Well, she may be or may not, but you do.
Only occasionally. It's not, if I get a takeaway pizza, I'm not sitting there with a knife and fork. If it's like a whole fancy one that you got out of Marks and Sparks or whatever that you've cooked in the oven, you know what? I'm not going to sit there cutting it into slices. I'll just eat it with a knife and fork. It depends on the situation. But yeah, I shouldn't be making accusations. You're right. But yes, back to Samantha's message. I always end up leaving little bits at the bottom, no matter how much I try to get them out. Could Mark come up with an invention to get those last little bits and the remains of the gravy, which is Misty's favourite part of the pouch contents, out? She always licks a spoon before eating her food. Oh. Not just wanting a bit of wet stuff, a bit of gravy, a bit of something to get it down the gullet better. It's got to be fresh gravy. That's the important. Fresh gravy. So I've been thinking long and hard about this. So I've been considering the problem, and I've got to make sure we're on the same page. So we're talking about cat food pouches, which if you've got a dog food pouches are the same but a bit bigger.
Yeah.
Although which is stinkier? Dog food or cat food?
I don't know.
Only one way to find out. No, I'm not going to do the Harry Hill thing. And that would properly stink if we did a dog versus cat food fight. But yes, you get a pouch of it. If you're not familiar with pet food, dear listener, the way I would describe it is a bit like cup of soup or something like that. But just imagine you get cup of soup in a sachet, but just imagine it's wet in there as well.
Yeah.
That would be probably the best way to describe it. So I've come up with a few ideas. My first one was a little round of explosives and a bit of string at the bottom. Just like a party popper. Yeah. So you need to feed your cat. You get one out the pouch. You aim it towards the bowl, and then you yank on it, and the food's all in the bowl. What could go wrong with that? Other than I did try get a hold of, what are they called? Cherry bombs, the little firecrackers. Oh, yeah. I thought, I need to give this a test. Yeah. Turns out you can't get a hold of them for love nor money. So I've probably stopped myself burning my house down. So we thought about that one, but you got problems with aiming, and also you don't want to be giving Doris a heart attack every time she feeds her cat. We've got enough problems with getting ambulances to people's doors at the moment. We don't want to be adding to it. So the other one is thinking about toothpaste. So how do you deal with toothpaste? You squeeze at the bottom and you roll it up, don't you? Unless you're Jenny, dear listener, you just squeeze in the middle and hope for the best.
Squeeze anywhere.
You're a proper wrong'un when it comes to toothpaste. So I thought, right, okay, it's all about the squeeze. So next thought, get a mangle, stick a mortar on it. Yeah, so I'm like, okay, right, I just need to get hold of my mangle now. Can't be impossible, can it? I raided Wilco, Boys, and even Amazon looking for a mangle. Nothing. I am ordering parts, but I did manage to simulate it with a pasta mangle. Did you? It's slightly different shape. So it's still a mangle in concept. Yeah. But there's a bit I forgot about with the pasta mangle that happens with, versus a clothing mangle. It tears the pouches to strips. Oh. Because when it's making spaghetti, it's got little teeth on it. So it tears the pouches to strips. You get the food out of the pouch.
You get the pouch with it.
But it's mostly in the mangle. I don't think the cat wants to go licking the mangle.
No.
So it didn't work particularly well. So I'm going to make one of my own. So I'm going to get on the internet, order a couple of rolling pins, a couple of motors, and not a drop of cat food will be left in the sachet. Because I imagine I'll end up ordering the wrong motors and it'll get launched across the room at 100 miles an hour.
Yeah.
To get ahead of it, I should probably cancel my order for lawnmower engines. I know I probably already know the answer to this question for you, dear listener, you, Jenny, as well, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Have you ever done something and thought, this isn't a good idea?
Yeah, eating loads of cream cakes.
Oh, everyone has moments like that. I mean, one that pops to mind, off the back of that airport story we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
On my return trip, I just chucked everything into my carry-on, my suitcase, and just went, you know what, we'll deal with it in the UK.
Yeah.
That was a bit of a mistake because I put my first aid kit in my carry-on.
Right.
So you put it onto the security conveyor belt. They put it through the X-ray, and it's whoop, come over here, sir. And funnily enough, Americans are very tetchy about security in aeroplanes. Can't think why, but they're very, very tetchy about it, and they were very upset. And I had to explain to them in as much detail as I could exactly where a sharp object was that I packed.
Yeah.
And it was the pair of safety scissors I used for a first aid kit. If you managed to take over a plane with those, I'd be very impressed. You'd hardly cut through dressings, never mind anything else. But I had this very irate security guard. I've got to try and explain exactly where it is in the bag. In a bag that I rush packed. So I've got no idea where it is in the bag.
Oh.
And if I can't tell them, they don't trust me. Oh, it was quite bad. But compared to one story I heard from the Civil Air Patrol person when I was over there, which I'll admit is a bit of an apocryphal story. I don't know how true it is, but apparently they borrowed a satchel from, or, one of those. I suppose the way to think about it would be like your Slazenger hold-all bag. If you can imagine one of those, it's like the US Air Force green military version of that.
Right.
So they borrowed one of those off the US Air Force and checked it in on the airplane, and when it started walking towards security. About 3 seconds later, alarms were going off, klaxons, and they're getting shouted at to get down and getting detained and all that. Turned out the satchel had previously been used to carry explosives.
Oh, God.
So it had residue all over it, so it triggered alarms all over the shop. But again, this is an apocryphal story. I don't know how true it is, but I did hear it from somebody over there. And the reason I'm asking the question, if I've done something I thought it's not a good idea, is because of a certain Mr. Musk. What's he famous for at the moment?
Twitter.
Which he's burning a lot of cash on.
Yes.
That seems to be his cunning plan at the moment. I think he actually posted something online saying ad revenue's down 50%.
Yeah. Oh, my heart bleeds.
And I'm not. Are you surprised that ad revenue's down 50%?
Not at all.
No, I can't say I am. He seems to be the only person in the world surprised by it. But he's been doing this unique, different, very, some would say positive, some would say very negative approach to running Twitter. Who do you think has actually come out and endorsed his way of running Twitter, has endorsed his approach? Somebody's actually come out and said, you know what, this is a really good thing. Whoever it is, it probably is a worse character in reality.
Rishi.
Rishi Sunak. No, Mr. Sunak. Mr. Sunak's too busy with other stuff. No, it's not him.
Mark Zuckerberg.
It is not Mark Zuckerberg. Mark Zuckerberg thinks that Twitter's so much nonsense he's going to build his own one.
Oh, yeah, he has, hasn't he? Yeah.
So it can be him. It is...
Bojo.
It's not Bojo. It's nothing to do with politics, nothing to do with technology. Well, actually, maybe I suppose you could sort of say politics in one country. Your nan... She's risen from the dead.
Oh, it's not Trump, is it?
It is not Trump. Trump I could get my head around. Trump I could understand. It's the Taliban. The Taliban spokesperson come out and gone, you know what, all this way that you're running Twitter is brilliant. I love it. It was a cracking endorsement. Even the Yorkshire Ripper, you could have shrugged it off and gone, you know what, all right, fair play, I see where it's coming from. So tune in next week when Satan reveals the winner in Twitter versus Freds. So they can all be on. We've got Musk in one corner, Zook in the other. Which is better? Only one way to find out. No, I'm not going to rip off Harry Hill. I'll let you do it instead, dear listener. That was unfortunately Wee Natter. I can only apologise. I was Mark Steele. Across the table from me was...
Jenny Steele.
And the important bit to do is, if you enjoyed this fine podcast and wish to get it delivered directly to your internet thingamabob device, whatever it is you happen to be listening to, every time a new one is, I don't want to say defecated out of our minds, but delivered from this fine place that we generate podcasts from.
Yeah.
Then all you got to do is hit the subscribe button in your podcatcher of choice. And suddenly the magic occurs and you will get a new episode every time it is released. You look like you're about to say something.
Yeah, I want to dedicate this episode to Hamlet. People may know Hamlet used to advertise Solid Country, used to belong to Stephen Hall. And unfortunately, Hamlet went to Rainbow Bridge on Friday, the 14th of July. So we'll all remember him here on Sooty the Solid Radio Cat's Facebook page. That's some lovely, lovely messages. And I'd like to dedicate this to Hamlet and obviously thinking of Stephen at this time.
So while you are getting your house redecorated, because it's the summer and you decide you need to improve it, you can have that churning away in your mind. You can be having that moment of remembering. But while you get your home redecorated and your professional drying paint watcher is there, let them know Wee Natter on the podcast. Yeah. That's all we're going to ask you to do, dear listener. On that note, we'll catch you next time.
Bye.